Alright, our first matchup is against the Warbow. Now in here, it's where you like to take tether shift instead of distortion. And he has an assassin jacket. If he had a mercenary jacket, we would have gone ambush. But since he has an assassin jacket, it is completely pointless to go ambush, and Inferno Shield is way better. Now, what you want to do is you want to close the gap as soon as possible. And the reason that you go innate power is so that you have the ability that when you close the gap, when you did, you would be able to actually cast your abilities. And it is very essential to go innate power, because without that, you won't be able to deal any damage or cast any of your abilities when you transform, since they cost a lot. Now, he hit us with his E. Ideally, you want to dodge it first and then tether shift, but it's fine. We press our Q, and the reason that we go Avalonian Cape is so that we close the gap, whether if they are brawlers or they are ranged, it doesn't matter. We right click them once, so they could get the debuff of the damage reduction for 4 seconds, so that the trade that we are going to make would be in our favor. We're going to transform, W, hit him, and when you transform, your W, which is called Pounce, it's your main damage dealer. It deals a lot of damage, and it's also good mobility. You can both engage or disengage. It deals a lot of damage and only costs 1 shape-shifting charge. So, even though it is a skill shot, but it is really easy to hit it. But sometimes you're going to miss it. Now in here I also casted my Q, which I believe was a mistake. You shouldn't spend so many shape-shifting charges when you're not going for the kill. So it's better to save the Q in some scenarios. Now, here he played really well. I popped my Gigantify prematurely, and he went ambush. I should have purged his ambush with my Purifying Smoke, but I didn't. Instead I pressed Gigantify. That's just massive misplay. Now it's probably to the right because there is a watcher there. I didn't thought of that at the time. My mistake. Now, Inferno Shield immediately, when I knew he was going to come out of the Invis. He's running. I'm going to press my Demon Boots. Vengeful Spirit charges. Now the reason that you go Demon Boots is because you get a lot of movement speed, but mostly because you get a lot of damage. It is really good to combine it with your Q when you're trying to one-shot your enemy when their HP bar is low enough. In here, I wanted to chase because he's a bow. I didn't want him to run away and press his Q when I'm far away, and then I wouldn't be able to close the gap. Now, I'm going to transform. I'm going to hit him. He had soldier helmet. So we're gonna wait. Press our Q. Get the damage. Now, he didn't die. And that's because we didn't press our W when we transformed. That was the second mistake. And also because his HP wasn't low enough. And in this entire fight, if we would have used our Purifying Smoke, our Helmet of Valor ability to purge his Invis, the fight would have been infinitely easier. But because we didn't, it's going to be really close. Avalonian Cape came in clutch at the end. Now, the reason that I didn't use my Purifying Smoke, Helmet of Valor, is because this is actually the first time that I'm using Helmet of Valor. I haven't used this item ever before. And in Albion, sometimes even when you are playing a similar build, but only one of your key armor sets are different, suddenly you can't focus, you're disoriented. For example, if I was playing a Curse Staff, I am hyper aware. I'm aware of my own cooldowns, of my opponent's cooldowns. I know what I need to use when they use something else. I know what to do. But even if I change my headpiece or my chest plate for something else, all of a sudden I cannot focus. I don't know what they're doing. I forget cooldowns. I don't have that muscle memory to cast Purifying Smoke as soon as they go Assassin Jacket. So that sometimes happens in Albion when you're trying to play a different build, and it's fine. You will get used to it. And my personal advice to people that are trying to learn a new expensive build, especially an expensive build if they're new to the game, don't try it in full loot corrupted layer or PvP areas. Instead, go to a yellow zone corrupted layer and cast your abilities on mobs and mini bosses. Try out your combo cycles and just learn what the abilities sound like, what they look like, the animation, what your character does when you cast the ability, how long it takes for them to cast, the channel time, and just get used to it. And after that, still do not jump into that full loot area. Instead, try out 1v1 PvPs in Crystal Arena. For example, if you have a friend, you can try out custom 1v1s where you can IP cap everything, and then you can try out your new items and abilities and see how they do against different builds with the same similar IP, because you cannot do that in a normal duel. Or even if you don't have a friend, it's fine, you can just go into 1v1 ranked, which is still non-lethal, and you can try out your build and get used to it in PvP scenarios. And after you feel confident enough, you can jump into the full loot corrupted layer areas where when you can afford to lose your gear. Now let's jump into the next one.